I felt his hands adjust the clasp at the back of my neck as I watched our reflection in the mirror. The soft light from behind us barely reached the darkened doorway, but I could see that someone was standing there, quiet, still, and watching. I didn't say anything. And when my husband leaned in close and spoke, I already knew this wasn't just about the necklace anymore. If you've been here with me before, please go ahead and tap the like button and hit subscribe. You know how much it helps the channel. And if this is your first time here, well, this one starts quietly, but it doesn't stay that way. Let's begin. He adjusted the necklace from behind as I stood in front of the vanity mirror, his fingertips grazing the delicate clasp. The room was softly lit, bathed in the warm glow of just the bedroom lamps, and he took his time, making sure the thin silver chain sat just right against my skin. I tilted my head to the side, glancing at the pendant's placement as he nudged it gently with the pad of his thumb. "Not quite right," he said, his voice a low murmur. "Let's try it without the necklace. See if something simpler works better." I gave a soft laugh. "Really? Since when are you so picky about my jewelry?" But I reached back anyway, my fingers finding the familiar clasp. It gave way with a soft, barely audible click, and the necklace slipped, cool and fluid, into my palm as I unfastened it. It was still warm from my skin. I held it for a moment, still smiling at his unusual fussiness, until something in the reflection shifted. At first I thought it was just a trick of the light from the hallway behind us. Then I saw him clearly. A man was standing at the edge of the open bedroom door, perfectly still, silent, observing. I hadn't heard the door open. I hadn't sensed another presence in the house at all. My breath caught in my throat, but I didn't turn around. He wasn't looking at my husband. He was watching me with a close, steady intensity, as if he were waiting for a cue. I started to speak, to ask a question, but my husband, Daniel, leaned in slightly, his own eyes on our reflection, and said with a small, knowing smile, "Go on." The necklace was still in my hand. I could almost feel the ghost of it against my collarbone, a faint, lingering imprint. I looked at the reflection again. The man in the doorway, the profound silence, my husband's calm presence beside me. Something was already happening, and somehow I was just now catching up to it. I didn't move at first. I just stood there, the necklace still clutched in my hand, my pulse quiet but unmistakably present, thrumming a low, deep rhythm as the man by the door took one quiet, deliberate step into the room. His eyes met mine in the mirror, his expression calm and entirely unreadable. His gaze then shifted down for a moment, landing on the space at the base of my throat where the necklace had been just moments before. He didn't smile. He didn't speak. But he didn't look away either. Behind me, Daniel stayed close. I could still feel the ambient warmth of his chest just out of reach. He stepped slightly to the side then, creating a space between us, an opening. The guest, Julian, stepped closer. His movements not fast, just measured, as if he already knew exactly where he was supposed to stand. I set the necklace down on the vanity, my fingers careful, my focus narrowed to the single task of not making a sound. My wrist trembled slightly as I steadied myself against the cool surface. The room felt heavy, weighted down with a silence that was more than just an absence of noise. He reached for my hand, his own hand, pausing for a brief second in the air before lifting it from the vanity. I looked down. His fingers were wrapped around mine, a gentle but certain hold. He studied my hand for a second, his thumb brushing slowly across my knuckles before pausing again. I exhaled slowly through my nose, steadying myself against a wave of feeling I couldn't yet name. I looked toward my husband in the mirror. He didn't say a word, just met my eyes and gave a small, quiet look that said more than any words could have. I felt a distinct shift in my chest. It wasn't nerves, not exactly. It was a heightened, sharpened awareness. The man in front of me let go of my hand, only to lift his own toward my shoulder. He brushed my cheek gently with the back of his fingers, a touch so light it was barely there. I shifted slightly beneath the contact without thinking, my skin responding to his touch, suddenly alert and aware. I stayed still. I didn't blink. He leaned in slightly, just close enough that I could feel the warmth of his breath, just enough that the space between us felt charged and intentional. He didn't speak. He didn't have to. I didn't look at the mirror this time. I didn't look at either of them. I just closed my eyes and let myself breathe in his presence, steady, grounded, and quiet. He stood near me, his stillness so profound that I noticed the subtle shift in the air as he breathed. But I didn't open my eyes. Everything about the moment felt deeply understood, without the need for words. He adjusted his stance slightly, his presence a steady warmth close by. I could sense the movement beside me, still wrapped in the deep quiet of the room. My heart beat at a pace that kept me focused, measured, aware. I raised my hand toward him instinctively, letting it come to rest gently over his. He stayed where he was, letting our hands remain connected in the quiet, unspoken space. Behind me, I heard my husband's soft footsteps as he came closer. He didn't interrupt. He just stood near, his presence a calm and steadying force. No one spoke. They didn't need to. There was a kind of reverent stillness in the room that made everything feel deliberate and significant. My breathing deepened, not from nerves, but from a profound sense of awareness. I shifted my weight slightly, grounding myself as I took a small step back. The backs of my legs touched the edge of the bed behind me, and I paused. I looked up at Julian then, really looked at him. His gaze was steady, and something about his quiet, unwavering focus kept me perfectly still. I lifted his hand slightly, resting it on his chest where mine had been just a moment before. He let it remain there without pressure or movement. I sat down carefully on the edge of the bed, steadying myself with my hands. The soft fabric of my blouse shifted naturally with the motion. The mattress gave a little under my weight, and I leaned back slightly, finding support on my palms behind me. They both stayed close, not moving toward me, not pulling away, just present. And that shared presence, more than anything else, is what held me still. He stood directly in front of me without a word. I had just taken a breath when he leaned in, his presence still so calm and steady. I felt a soft warmth near my ear as he breathed, and my head tilted slightly in response, an unconscious reaction. Behind me, my husband's hand came to rest gently at my shoulder, a quiet, grounding, and familiar presence. The guest stayed close, silent, his attention focused somewhere just beside me. I could sense how near they both were, not in their motion, but in their shared stillness. I didn't move, caught in the space between awareness and choice. I shifted slightly, adjusting my balance, and felt the fabric at my shoulders gather gently. I reached up to settle it, smoothing the place where it had folded. My husband's fingers briefly met mine as I moved, a steady, calm touch. The room felt cooler, but what stayed with me wasn't the temperature of the air. It was the quiet, concentrated focus that was surrounding me. They didn't rush. No one needed to ask anything. There was a quiet, unspoken rhythm in the moment, understood without the need for words. The guest, Julian, remained near. His presence felt more than it was seen. I stayed centered, not leaning toward either man, just still, letting the moment stretch and breathe. A quiet steadiness rested in my chest, and I breathed into it. He placed a hand on the bed nearby, not touching me directly, but close enough that I felt the space between us narrow. Daniel shifted slightly behind me, not crowding, just making his presence known. Their nearness shaped the air between us, making it feel measured and calm. Julian's hand moved slowly, adjusting a fold in the blanket near where I sat. I kept my eyes forward, breathing steadily. Daniel placed a hand lightly at my back, and I felt myself settle more fully into my seat, a small release of tension I didn't know I was holding. Unsure of what to do with my own hands, I traced the stitched edge of the blanket and then let them rest there. I reclined slowly, steadying myself with both hands behind me as I leaned back. My arms settled at my sides, my posture now relaxed, my breath held for just a moment before I let it go in a slow, even sigh. He leaned in slightly again, not with overt intention, just proximity. The nearness was real, but it was quiet. Daniel moved to sit beside me then, brushing a soft kiss to my temple, then another to my cheek, and a final one to the palm of my open hand. His pace never hurried. Each action felt intentional yet wonderfully light. I breathed in deeply and exhaled slow. Every part of the moment registered quietly, fully. No one said anything. I noticed a hand near my side and another gently adjusting a fold in the blanket. Daniel whispered something I didn't quite catch, but I didn't need to. The soothing tone of his voice carried enough meaning. I adjusted my position slightly, drawing in a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. I found the edge of the blanket again and ran my fingers along it, steadying myself. Julian remained close, but didn't press. Daniel's fingers paused near my cheek again. I reached up and let my hand rest over his. There was no urgency in how they moved, not toward each other or toward me. There was only stillness, only quiet presence. With each passing moment, I noticed how deeply calm everything remained. There was nothing expected of me, just a shared awareness, a profound closeness that spoke in the softest of whispers. I reached forward slightly, my hand finding Julian's shoulder, not pulling, just grounding. My other hand stayed near, touching the empty space beside me. And then I stopped moving. I let the full weight of the moment settle around me. My hand relaxed on the fabric of his shirt, and my breathing slowed again, becoming easy, even. I looked toward my husband as if I were about to speak, but I said nothing. Instead, I let myself be still. Now, be honest with me. If you were in that room, would you have waited for a signal, or would you have stepped in on your own? Tell me what you think in the comments. I'll be reading them.
Thank you for listening. Please share your thoughts, like this video if you found it helpful, and subscribe for more.